Welcome back to the show. I'm Jenny McCarthy Wahlberg. Joining me, my next guest. I'm so excited to talk about him. The book is called The Well-Centered Home. It's available right now. Bill Hirsch is joining me. Hi, Bill. Welcome.
Well, hi. How are you?
Good. So you've practiced architecture for over 40 years.
A long time. Long time.
A long time. So you kind of know what you're talking about. But here in this book, The Well-Centered Home, you basically talk about how your home is the balance point between two important forces, the physical and the spiritual. So you kind of combined your two worlds, or two worlds in general. Why so? Why did you bring those two together?
Well, I've been always interested in this. I have a background in psychology as well as in architecture. And I've always been worried or concerned about how buildings are perceived by people, not just whether they fit your functional needs, keep the rain out, keep you secure, but how do we react to them? How do we respond to them? And why do some buildings feel better than others? And we spend so much time in our homes. Even before the virus, they say that 70% of our lives are spent in our homes. And well, now it might be 99%.
Right. Right.
And it has a huge influence on us that we are maybe not as aware of as we should be.
Okay. And so, it couldn't come at a better time, I think. What is exactly a well-centered home?
Well, I've always tried to include things in my design or work around things that make a building be more comfortable and a happier place to be. And about a year ago, I finally put the words together to make it be understandable for everyone. A well-centered home is essentially a home that puts you in a centered place by simply inhabiting it. If you think about meditation and what we try to achieve with meditation, we try to pull ourselves back in from all the things that knock us off center in our lives and add stress. And we try to pull ourselves back into a center. Well, I believe that your home can do this very same thing for you. And it can happen in the background, provided you've done arrangements of your home that are simple to do, but thoughtful to do, that cause this effect to be amplified. So that's what centering is about.
Okay. And would it be as simple as removing too many mirrors so you stop looking at yourself so much?
Well, it depends on your homebody type, I guess.
You're right. You're right.
But there are simple things. A lot of it has to do with rearrangements. And then I discuss pebbles and pearls.
Ooh.
So pebbles would be things that are negative energy or irritants. And they'd be similar to having a pebble in your shoe that you might get used to and keep walking, but it's still irritating you no matter what accommodation you make. But if you stop and remove that pebble, you're happier. And so you want to do that in your home, is to kind of put your antenna up and start to look at your home a different way and identify these pebbles and remove them or correct them or fix them. It could be a squeaky door that just bothers you, or it could be a burned out light bulb, or it could be an unfortunate view from one room into the other and there's no good transition, like you're looking right in at the headboard of the bed from your main sitting area, and there ought to be a little bit of transition in between that makes it a more comfortable transition. So those would be the pebbles that you remove. Pearls, on the other hand, are things that you add to your home to make it enhance the centering effect. So they would be like little treasures, or they would be convenient views. Earth grounding is a key concept and connecting us with nature. So you may have a nice window that looks outside. That's all good, but you might add an ornamental plant in that view line, or a water feature, or something simple like that. So now you have a focal point that makes that earth grounding connection be stronger and more important. So pearls are things you add in once you've removed the pebbles.
I love that because I love plants, but I have no idea where to ever put them in my house, like the best spot. But I like putting them from the window. Like obviously some need light, so it's smart, but to enhance the view outside and have that focal point because I like being around trees. I love plants and forests.
Sure.
And I prefer that even more than the ocean. The book again is called The Well-Centered Home. It's available right now. How would you describe those different levels? You called them different types of home bodies.
Well, that's the beginning of the book, is to identify your home body type. And that allows this whole process to be more customized to you personally. So we all have certain tendencies. I've had people ask me, is this like feng shui? Well, feng shui, it does similar things. It tries to enhance the positive energy in your home and remove the negative energy, but it's a fairly prescriptive process that's universal for all homes. And I take a different approach. I believe that it needs to be tailored to you.
Individualized, yeah.
Exactly. What's beneficial to you may be less beneficial to me, or things that are more beneficial to me may be less beneficial to you. So we figured out your home body,
I know. I took the quiz and I'm like, I'm not going to look. I'm just going to send it on in and see what kind of homebody I am. So just give it to me. What am I, Bill?
You were a little curious because you had a lot of balance among the 4 homebody types. You did have a preference towards Plato. Now, these homebodies are named for famous people that have characteristics that the homebody exemplifies. For instance, a Plato personality would be someone who out why things happen and why we like certain things, and they think about relationships and all of that. On the other hand, a Nightingale would be a homebody type that's the nurturer and comforter, and likes to sort of lean towards healthful living and organics. Those would be things that a Nightingale would like. A Galileo would be a more technically oriented person. So I like to say that a Galileo likes to know how things work, whereas a Plato wants to know why things work. And then the last is an Astaire, after Fred Astaire. And that's the more outgoing person who would like to entertain people, maybe likes to be in the bright lights a little bit more, and needs other people around them to be happier. So this all ripples through your homebody efforts, your centering efforts, so that you can get your home to be customized to you. Obviously, a Nightingale would prefer different things from an Astaire, but your second homebody type was Nightingale. It was a close second to Plato, and then you had a couple of good points towards an Astaire, and Galileo was a little back, but not absent. So I gather you're the kind of person who likes a lot of diversified things.
Yes, I do. And I'm sometimes a little bit all over the map with my taste.
Well, then you match your homebody type.
Yeah. And, but I'm definitely not the one that wants a bunch of people over here to be happy. I don't really feel like I have to have entertainment in my home. Like I want to make it pretty for me and us, our little nest egg.
But I'll bet you can tolerate the guests for a period of time and like the interaction. But then after a point, it's like, this is my home. I'd like it to be my quiet, comfortable, secure place.
100%, unless the vodka's flowing, then I'm like, keep it going, people. Keep it going. So what would you tell me to do based off of this chart to my house? Like I might want to think about plants, or I might want to think about this.
Right. Well, the colors that tend to be favored by both Nightingale and Plato would be earth tones and earth colors. And those are comforting and soothing. So you would head that direction. Now you have a little bit of a contradiction in the forms and textures department, because Plato would like things a little more angular or interesting, whereas a nightingale would like the overstuffed sofa and the fabrics that are tactile, that you enjoy touching. So I'm
Totally.
thinking you could have two individual places in your home that favor each. And depending on your mood, you let your own instincts direct you. But I would caution against getting them mixed together.
That's really good advice and feels so spot on. Like we just had the opportunity to purchase a little lake house, and I'm like, I wanted to bring a whole different side of myself to do it there. And I'm like, is it weird that I'm kind of changing it from the place I decorated here to totally opposite? But if you're talking about me doing these two different types of ideas in separate rooms, why not two homes if you can?
Sure. Well, it just means that you're multifaceted, that you're not just sort of pigeonholed into an area. And actually, in my homebody quiz, I acknowledge that by letting you, and you did place two answers on some of the questions. Because it shouldn't be just either you're this or that, and nobody really is. So
Right.
why not be able? And the purpose of the homebody quiz isn't to categorize you; it's to help you understand yourself. And when you understand yourself more, you'll make better decisions as you go about the tasks of centering your home. So that because you didn't score as many points for Galileo doesn't mean that you don't like geometrics or things like that. You can like that too, but your heavier preference would be in another direction.
Totally. This is really helpful. And I'm like, I can already see myself when I'm shopping having a little bit of that confirmation as to know which aisle to go to now or which thing to pick out. I really love it.
Sure. I find my clients often are in a quandary about their own decisions, and they know what they'd like. And sometimes my role is just to say, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
And then they're comfortable with it. And I won't say that if it isn't a good choice,
Right.
of course. But that's what the homebody quiz and then the description of what that may mean is meant to help people get some confirmation of their own preferences and decisions.
Well, I would much now prefer to get confirmation off of someone like you versus my girlfriend, who I will say, should I get this couch, who has the polar opposite taste. So is it wrong to ask your friends or your family members that might not necessarily agree with your taste, but you feel like you still need confirmation with your choices?
Well, I think sometimes it's helpful to talk things over. One of my favorite quotes of all time is one from Harry Truman, who said, "Get all the advice you can get." But Harry Truman did not say, "Take all the advice you get." So
Right.
You get the advice, evaluate it, and decide what's applicable for you.
I absolutely love this. The Well-Centered Home is the name of the book. When I'm sure you probably don't keep up with the Kardashians, Bill Hirsch, but the Kardashians' home, I was surprised when they moved into their Bel Air mansion because there's nothing in but like slate walls and like concrete walls, concrete floors, concrete. Everything's concrete. There's like nothing but just slabs of cement. So, and she's got 4 kids. There's like no color. There's just nothing. When you see homes like that, do you kind of reverse engineer a little bit and know who falls into what category? And what category would that be just based off hearing that?
Well, that would probably be more of a Galileo approach. The Galileo homebody doesn't need the usual comforting things as much. As you describe their home, you remind me of Steve Jobs, who had virtually no furniture in his home forever.
Wow.
And you wonder why. Well, he was a quirky personality, that's
There
for
you
sure.
go. Yep.
But why he never got around to buying a sofa, someone would come to his house and they would sit on the floor. He had a bed, I think, and that was it, at least according to his authorized biography that
That's
came out a couple
wild.
years ago.
I would think that Kanye would want something comforting, but I guess when you're married to Kim Kardashian, that's your comforting. Maybe
There you go.
Do you need a lot of money in order to recenter your home? Or if you have none,
absolutely not. A lot of it has to do with taking what you have and doing a more thoughtful rearrangement of that. And things that you might add might be pretty inexpensive. You mentioned mirrors. For instance, if somebody lives in a small apartment and they only have windows on one side of their apartment, it's hard to do the earth grounding aspect of this. But if you put a mirror on the opposite wall, particularly one that's framed and not just the full wall of mirrors, you now have an implied window and might very well reflect the one tree you can see outside.
Right.
And this is a help. And other little earth grounding things that are helpful would be a bird feeder outside of a window, because now it requires maintenance. And that talks to another principle we didn't discuss, which I call peopling, how you make spaces be appropriate for people. Maintenance reminds you that somebody, even if it's you, has to come and take care of it. So you feel a psychological connection with this other person. So things that require a bit of maintenance are better than things that are totally maintenance free from a home centering and a psychological comfort viewpoint. But then you see nature moving around with the birds out there, and you hear them. And these all remind us of our connection with nature. And, there have been a number of studies that show that people recover from illnesses and surgeries faster when they're exposed to a natural setting rather than being in a cold, hard institutional setting, even if those images of nature are simply photographs or paintings. It doesn't have to be real nature to have the effect. Of course, real nature is nicer, but
right.
if you can't see a lot and you put up a nice landscape painting or print or whatever, that will have that same positive effect on you.
I love that. Well, that's why I listen to like birds chirping as I go to sleep at night. It gives me the same feeling. I don't know why the birds chirp as I go to sleep, but Well,
the whole deal with the well-centered home is if you think of places where you've been, where you get there and automatically your stress level goes down and you feel yourself just sort of exhale and relax. We want your home to be that same sort of thing, to have that same effect on you. And so you come in from your stressful day and you go, exhale, just the things you would do when you're doing meditation, but you're doing them in the normal course of your life. And your home is the generator of these feelings and that energy.
I absolutely love that. And I have those moments too without anything being done. If my kids just do the house cleaning and I come home and it's clean, I go, oh my God, I love my house again. I love it. What is the Vastu method for giving your home positive energy?
Well, that is an ancient Hindu methodology. It's very complex, and it's kind of like feng shui on steroids in a way, because it's much more prescriptive about where doors have to be and where light can go all the way through a home, very regimented. And I did a home for an Indian couple, both doctors, both in the world of science, but they wanted to respect the Vastu principles at the same time. And it was very interesting. I learned a lot about it. I've done a Balinese style house in Hawaii and had to learn about Bali architecture to make it authentic. And there's a conduction of energy from the mountain down through the dwelling into the sea. And we start to see these things in other cultures. And then it brings up the question of why don't we talk about them in Western society? Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I'm trying to do, is to present this and have people say, I felt this, but I had no.
Well, we ran out of time, but I want to thank Bill Hirsch. That book, what an interest. I like when people create like their own lane, You know what I mean? Such a good idea. The Well-Centered Home, Simple Steps to Increase Mindfulness, Self-Awareness, and Happiness. You guys can pick that up. And tomorrow, I've got to interview one of my favorite families on TV, Ozzy, Sharon, and Jack Osbourne. Their new show, The Osbournes Wanna Believe. It's coming on the Travel Channel, and I get to interview them for a whole almost hour, depending how long Ozzy can take me. That's probably how long it will be. But the show is all about like UFOs and all these, videos that people have sent in, haunting videos. It's right up my alley. So, of course, I'm probably going to be a bigger fan of the show than them, even though they're doing it. So tune in tomorrow, you guys, and wish me luck on my flight tomorrow.